Welcome back to Living with Pilonidal Cyst Disease. If you're new here, my name is Ashley, and I started this podcast to share my personal experience living with pilonidal cyst disease. I want to say this right at the beginning. I am not a doctor or a medical professional, and everything I share on this podcast is based entirely on my own lived experience. If you're looking for medical advice, please speak with a healthcare professional. I originally started this podcast after seeing a Facebook post about pilonidal cyst disease because honestly, nobody talks about it. And once I shared my story, I had people reach out asking if I could turn this into a series so they could follow along, hear different perspectives, and feel less alone. Today's episode is about the in between, and I want to be really clear right away. This episode is not about flare-ups and it's not about surgery. It's about everything that happens when nothing is technically wrong, but nothing feels okay either. The in-between is that space where your body looks healed on the outside, but your mind hasn't caught up yet. No active cysts, no visible infection, no bandages, no reason for people to worry about you anymore. So everyone assumes you're fine. And physically, I was. But mentally, I was living in constant fear. Because when you've had multiple flare-ups, you don't just forget what that feels like. Your body remembers, your brain remembers, and it never fully relaxes again. Every single day I was checking in with myself. How do I feel right now? Is that pressure? Is that pain? Did I just feel something or am I imagining it? And after a while, I genuinely couldn't tell the difference. That's one of the hardest parts of the in-between. You stop trusting your own body. Scar tissue feels weird, healing tissues feel weird, nerves do weird things, but when you've lived through flare-ups, weird doesn't feel neutral anymore. Weird feels dangerous, so every sensation became a threat. Sitting wasn't just sitting. Even when I didn't have an active cyst, I never sat flat because sitting flat wasn't comfortable. I sat on my hips, leaning to one side, trying to keep pressure off the area, and even then, my mind wouldn't shut off. I'd sit there thinking, how long have I been sitting? Is this too long? Should I stand up? What if I'm making it worse? Sometimes I'd feel the tiniest bit of pressure, not pain, just pressure, and my entire body would tense up, because I knew what pressure turned into. Once that thought entered my head, it spiraled fast. This is a flare-up, then I have to wait. If I have to wait, that means pain. That means not sleeping, that means heating pads, that means walking weird, that means 7 days before it's big enough for them to even do anything. I would mentally replay the entire process before anything had even happened, and that is exhausting in a way that's hard to explain unless you've lived it. What made it worse was knowing this wasn't my first one. My flare-ups weren't close together. The first and second was about 11 months apart, and the second and third were around 13 months apart, which meant for that almost an entire year at a time, I lived in this constant state of waiting. Waiting for it to come back, waiting for my body to betray me again. So any tiny sensation, any pressure, any twinge immediately became, this is it. And then my brain would go straight into timelines. If it flares up today, then by tomorrow it'll hurt more. Then I'll wait days before they can do anything. How many days will I be in agony? How many days will I not be able to go to the bathroom properly? How many days will I be glued to a heating pad, burning my skin just to try to survive the pain? How many days will I be laying around, watching shows, waiting for my life to pause again? It was always a waiting game, and the thing I feared most wasn't even the flare-up itself. It was the lancing and draining. That part traumatized me. So when people say, at least it's not active right now, they don't understand that my brain was already there, already reliving it every single time I felt something. By the third flare-up, I remember thinking, this is never going to end if I don't do something. I kept asking myself why other people only had one. Why do they get to move on? Why did their bodies just stop? Why was mine still doing this? I was 14 years old, right in the middle of being a teenager, and I was dealing with something that affected one of the most uncomfortable, embarrassing parts of the body. Something nobody wants to talk about, something nobody wants to admit they're dealing with, something that made me feel completely disconnected from my own body. I felt betrayed by my own body, and that feeling didn't just disappear after surgery either. Even after my surgery, knowing the success rate was 98%, I waited. For an entire year, I waited for it to come back. Every day, part of me believed I was going to be the 2%, because in my head I thought, bad things keep happening to me, so why would this be different? I didn't trust it, I didn't trust my body, I didn't trust that it was really over. So that fear just lived inside me. The mental load nobody sees is that constant anxiety that never turns off. It's waking up and immediately checking in with your body. It's going to bed and replaying every sensation you felt that day. It's feeling dramatic for being scared when nothing is technically happening, but not being able to stop anyway. Every little pain, every little twinge, every bit of pressure, I would immediately go to my mom and say, I think it's coming back. And then, nothing would happen, over and over again. Looking back now, I can see how that might have looked dramatic, but in the moment, it wasn't drama. It was fear, it was trauma, and it was my brain trying to protect me. I also minimized my pain constantly. People would ask how I was doing, and I'd say I was fine. If they asked about pilonidal disease, I'd give them the short version, the Cole's notes, just enough information to get through the conversation. Because every time I tried to explain the in-between, people didn't get it. They'd say things like, but you don't have a flare-up right now, so are you actually in pain? Isn't it gone? And technically, yes. But the fear wasn't gone, the thoughts weren't gone, the emotional weight wasn't gone. So I stopped trying to explain it. I felt small when I tried. I felt like I was overreacting. I felt like nobody understood how much mental energy it took just to exist normally again. So I kept it to myself, except for God and the people in my house, and even then, I didn't always know how to put it into words. I was confident everywhere else, or at least I pretended to be, but that part of me made me feel weak. And the worst part, I thought I was crazy. I used to tell myself, you're overthinking this, but I wasn't. I was responding to trauma. I was responding to a body that had hurt me before. The in between is where people feel the most alone. It's where people think they should be over it, but they're not. I avoided things constantly. I would obsess over my clothes. I questioned every single pair of pants I owned. I avoided clothes that felt too tight. I avoided jeans for the longest time. I avoided leggings. I obsessed over underwear and different brands, different materials, different fits. I questioned absolutely everything. Should I sit on this chair? Should I stand instead? I've been sitting for 30 minutes, I should probably stand. I remember being at family functions and choosing to stand when everyone else was sitting. People would say, "Oh, Ashley, you can sit down." And I'd say, "No, I'm good." Because in my head I was thinking, standing feels safer, it won't cause a flare up. Whether or not it actually helped, I don't even know. But mentally, it gave me a sense of control. And that's what the in between becomes, trying to control everything because you don't trust your body anymore. I researched constantly different products, different routines, different hygiene practices. My hygiene honestly became excessive because I was so hyper focused on preventing another flare up. I joined Facebook groups, I read post after post, I compared myself to everyone. People would say, I only had one, I had a lancing and it never came back, I never even think about it anymore. And I remember wishing so badly that I could stop thinking about it, wishing I could just live. I even went through laser hair removal in that area because my surgeon suggested it might help. And that pain, doing laser hair removal on scar tissue was awful, but I was willing to go through it because I was trying to prevent something worse. I avoided sports, swimming, hot tubs, baths, anything that involved sweating, and that was lonely, because as a teenager, I wanted to do those things. I wanted to feel carefree. I wanted to not think about my body every second of the day, but instead, I felt fragile. I felt uncomfortable in my own skin. I hated that part of my body. I felt very disconnected from it. I felt weak because I had no control, and that fear just kept building. This episode matters to me so much because this is where people feel the most alone. This is where people feel crazy. This is where people think they should be over it, but they're not. And I want you to hear this. You are not dramatic, you are not weak, and you are not broken. You are responding to something real. You are responding to trauma, and you are responding to a body that hurt you before. And if you're in the in between right now, I see you. If this episode resonated with you, please leave a comment, Send me a personal message or share your experience. Your stories matter and they might help someone else feel less alone. I share all of this because pilonidal cyst disease is so much more than just a cyst. It's the beginning, it's the middle, and it's the after. It's the physical pain, mental stress, anxiety, body image, and long-term adjustment. This was my experience. Everyone's journey is different. If you're listening and feel seen by any part of this, just remember you are not alone, and I will see you in the next episode.